Hello everyone, good evening. Good evening everyone. It's been a long time. I came live here and today I'm live here and because I just want to quickly talk about something. I will have actually done a proper video on this, but I felt like let me just talk about this right now because this is like almost 11 in the night, but going through the streets of social media and seeing what is going on, I was a bit shocked. I was like, really? Because this story has been on for almost a month now, since the 12th of September 2023, like just almost a month right now. So it's about this Mohbad situation. I'm going to be very, very careful with my words because of community guideline, because I don't want to get into any trouble. In fact, I would have actually done this as a proper video, but I was not too sure about copyright, picking videos here and there, so I don't want to go into any issues with community guidelines. So let's quickly talk about this whole Mohbad situation. I know I've not really talked about it on YouTube. Once in a while I just comment or drop my view on it on Facebook. But today, with the police report or the press conference that the police had, I was quite shocked with the revelation that the police gave us about the Mohbad situation. Like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Are you guys joking with us or what? But it actually seems to look like it is the truth because it correlates with a whole lot of things. I wish I can be putting out videos to explain myself better so that you can understand me. Now, when this whole situation has started, talking about the Mohbad situation, it went for a show on the 10th of September. It went for a show, General Bitters, that's the Soberekon Obi Kubana. He was invited for an event which he went for. Now, after the event, 2 days after the event, he passed away. Now, a lot of people came online. A lot of people actually didn't know him before the situation. I myself, I really didn't know him, but I know I've heard, his song, especially that that one. I know I've heard it a couple of times, but I never knew who sang it. And same thing with a lot of Nigerians. They really did not, they know his songs, but they never knew he was the one that sang it. So immediately after his passing away, a lot of videos began to surface online showing and directing or pointing us into bullying, assault, and all that, which brought a lot of rage, a lot of anger, in the hearts of a lot of Nigerians, and they began to protest. People actually went from different states to protest. A lot of people were like, cancel Naira Marley, because in every video they were hands pointing at him. I think it was in just 1 or 2 videos that we actually saw Naira Marley. In most of the videos, hello to those who are actually on my live. Like, I would like you to drop comments so I can just shout out to you. So back to what I was saying. In the videos we saw, what we saw more was the Sam Larry guy who was the one doing most of the assault and all that. So this actually made a lot of Nigerians angry that this guy died as a result of bullying. Could it be that, okay, in the occasion he went for, they actually went for him there? What did they do to him? Now, another theory started coming up when a lot of people started talking about, oh, the wife is the main suspect. The wife should be the one that should be held responsible. The wife. So in my head, I'm like, where is this distraction coming from? How come all of a sudden somebody passes away, the wife is the very first person? Everybody was directing this thing to the videos we're seeing online, and his tweets, his songs were actually directing everyone to what this young man was actually passing through. But a lot of people were not listening because probably it's Naira Marley. Naira Marley is bigger because we have this thing in Nigeria or maybe in Africa whereby once you are having an issue with a bigger celebrity, whether you are the one, right, people will support the bigger celebrity. Yes, this thing happens a whole lot. So I see a situation whereby people just feel like, oh, it's Naira Marley. No, nothing. This thing we say. There's this word that they always use. Any slander of so and so cannot be tolerated. Now, it was in the middle of this case when I found out that Naira Marley has actually had cases in time past with EFCC and all that, and same young Nigerians were like, oh, free Naira Marley, free Naira Marley, free Naira Marley, until it became, will I use the word more powerful, or I don't know what the word to use right there. So now when this whole situation happened, a lot of Nigerians came up with all kinds of opinions, different things were trending online. In fact, at some point I was becoming too scared. As much as I was doing my thing, you come online or you keep seeing videos of this young man, his songs, how meaningful, how his songs were always directing to his life and his life struggles, you know, the things he's going through, the bully and all that, how his father wasn't there or his mom wasn't there, and so his stepmom and all that and all that. That was where it was after his passing away that a lot of people began to pay attention to what this young man was going through. Now everybody began to cancel Naira Marley. He started losing followers on Instagram. So many things were going wrong. People wanted it to find him out, you know. So police actually promised that they were going to investigate the whole situation and they were going to give feedback to Nigerians. That investigation started. Just like I said, people began to point accusing fingers at the wife. As much as I didn't want to be sentimental, yes, I understood everybody talking about in a murder situation, everybody's a suspect, nobody's innocent. But I didn't like the fact that all of a sudden people left the evidences we're seeing online and narrowed it down to just one person. Yeah, but before we knew it, the whole DNA. So okay, yes, let's talk about the DNA matter. So this particular artist, Sam Clef, you know, was actually passionate about this whole thing, and he began to do a fundraising for Mohbad's son. And before we knew it, people were donating huge amount of money for the young man. So when the money got to a particular point, you know how money can be to people, how money always makes people feel. Then they started with the DNA or no DNA thing. In my own head, I was like, DNA, like, is it that people do not know where to draw boundaries, or that is it that can I actually just meet you? And this is a question I'm asking a lot of people who have this opinion about the DNA thing. So can I just all of a sudden come to your house and tell you that, oh, you don't look like your dad, I feel like your dad needs to carry out a DNA on you to be sure it's your father? That's the way I saw this whole situation, because I felt like people were crossing boundaries. Yes, and I want to say this to people who might be watching this. This has nothing to do with that women are always scared of DNA, or women are not. Personally, I know that women are very private people. So there are certain things that I feel like the family should be the one to decide. It's not society that will decide for the family. The family should be the one to decide if they're going to do that. And even when they do it, it is not the business of the public. Anybody that wants to assist the child can actually go to his grandfather to go and find out information. It's the only thing. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but I felt like a lot of people were beginning to cross boundaries, and that is actually not right, because sometimes, and I narrowed it down to almost some of you people asking for some of these things right now, you really do not know what husband and wife go through sometimes to actually have kids. Yes, talking about you understand, people can actually go all length, and it's always between the man and the wife. You don't know whether they chose to adopt. I'm not saying that was what happened in this case. I'm just talking about in the nearest future. You have no idea. The people who are clamoring for this DNA thing, in my head I was just like, these people don't even know whether they will end up adopting. You don't know how you might end up having your child. So does it mean that if at the end of the day you find yourself in this situation and people are requesting for DNA, and it happens that maybe you ended up adopting, does it mean that child is not your child? That was the way I was looking at this whole thing. But for the DNA thing, I just felt like people were crossing boundaries with it. Why not let's focus on what actually led to the passing away of this young man, Mohbad? Then when you get that, you can now advise the family to go ahead. You can only advise, not like saying, we need a DNA, we need to see DNA result. Like, how can you be demanding for DNA result for a child that is not your child? So that aside. Now let's go back to the story. So there were a lot of things going on social media. A lot of videos kept coming up. Too many things that were traumatizing, because you just come on vlogs, that is what you're seeing. You come here, that is what you're seeing. You go here, that is what you're seeing. Now I wasn't really talking so much about it because I was just paying attention to the blogs to also see what is going on. Yes, I was interested in some things that people were talking about, but DNA wasn't really my thing. I was just like, no, that's crossing line. Sometimes because you're an activist and people are beginning to listen to you doesn't mean you don't know when to shut up, because it's almost like, oh, does it mean I can actually go and meet your mom, for those who are demanding, and just say that I did DNA on your child? No, that's your crossing boundaries as far as I'm concerned. So today, guys, a lot of Nigerians were already, in fact, they've already nailed Naira Marley. That's the truth. A lot of Nigerians already nailed him, and I'm not going to blame them because of the videos we saw online. The videos we saw online kept on directing everything to him. Mohbad tweeted a lot of times, talked a lot of times in his songs about what he was going through, but it just like it wasn't so popular as he is right now, so a lot of people were not really paying attention. Remember I said something about celebrity. So if you're a bigger celebrity and you're here, Nigerians are likely 100 and 200% times will support the bigger artist than you. So maybe that was why a lot of persons were not really paying attention, or they didn't really notice him until he passed away. Now we saw everything that went on with his burial and all that, but let me go back to the police the press release of today. Now I was watching that video. I watched the old video. I don't know if I can still do another video like to posting all of those things. It's just that some of these things they pick them for copyright and all that, so I was trying to be careful now. So police is saying that they have 5 suspects in custody right now, which is the nurse, his friend Prime Boy, another friend Spending, Naira Marley, and Sam Larry. These are the 5 people in police custody right now. Now, how did this whole thing start? What the police is telling us right now is 10th of September 2023. Mohbad went for an event. Remember, he left his old record label in 2022, which led to a lot of fights, it led to a lot of issues, which led to all the bullying we saw. Okay, so now somebody they hosted him, or they invited him for the launching of a general bitter, something like that, somewhere in Ikorodu. So he hired, according to the police report, he hired an SUV. He went there with his wife. He went there with a son, the wife and his son himself, then the driver and his friend, his childhood friend, Prime Boy. So Prime Boy was with them. So after the event, he got high. He was hyperactive. I'm using police words. He was hyperactive and he was tipsy, not like he was drunk. So after the event, they got back into the car and it was time for them to go. So according to the story, there's another car that was blocking them. So the car blocking them, he came down sort of to clear the road, which led to some kind of maybe anger or fight. You know how when somebody's tipsy and all that. So I can't really say what led to the punching of his friend. Because from the report, I'm reporting what was reported right now. So he punched his friend, and I think that one punched him back, and out of anger, he punched the SUV, because they said there are videos, there are evidences to show that he actually punched the SUV that they drove in. Now, the punching of the SUV gave him injury on his hand. He had a cut on his hand. Right now, of course, you're punching. Do you understand that cut? Remember, he was high, hyperactive, and he was drunk. So they didn't tell us what he was hyperactive on, but it suggests, from what they are saying right now, it suggests that he probably took things to become high because he was going to perform on the stage. Remember, some of these artists actually do some of these things. They just try to take some things that will make them high. So they are very agile, hyperactive, and all. So They got back into the car. Remember, he had an injury, he was bleeding, and they went home. So prime boy didn't follow them home. So when they got home, he was still bleeding. So they were persuading him, police report, to go to the hospital. They were witnesses to this. The SUV driver, the person who drove them, was also a witness to that they persuaded him. He was even willing and ready to take him to the hospital, but he refused to go. The wife was persuading him, and the spending, a friend of another friend of his, they actually called their, what's it called, their names, but I'm using their stage names. Spending is the stage name of the friend now that brought his own nurse. Now, when his hands started getting swollen, like I think by the next day, because they were actually giving time. Police was also giving us time stamp. Okay, by so and so time, this was what happened. So I think by the next day, his hand, that was Monday now, his hands were now getting swollen. So they were still persuading him to go to the hospital, which he refused. So they called his personal nurse, more like a travel nurse. You understand what that means? They called his personal nurse. The nurse, unfortunately, was not available. So his friend, spending, now actually, oh, let me call somebody else. This is where we are going to fault the system. Of course, they called somebody else. Not like anybody's saying there's anything wrong with home medication or home service, because hospitals actually carry out home service. But the issue is that it should be a doctor doing that. The only work of a nurse is to actually give you whatever thing the doctor has prescribed. But in this case, the nurse was actually doing the prescription and also giving the medication. That is where this issue is. That's where there's an issue here. So now spending called his own nurse, who came. So there's no foul play here. I'll say there's no foul play here because they actually started calling his own nurse first. So his own nurse wasn't available. The nurse picked and told them that she was going to be coming the next day, that she's not available right now. So to those that were, because I saw people talking about all those people that were in the car when they pronounced him dead. Well, we will get there. We will get to that point, because I had to sit down to calculate and correlate a lot of these things to ensure it makes a lot of sense, because people were just too quick. Pack all these people, pack off these people. Of course, sometimes we make it to look as if police don't even know what they are doing, but sometimes they actually know. When police want to walk, they actually walk. And in this case, because all eyes were on them, they walked. Now, the nurse came. This one was available and she came. So when she came, the problem is, of course, when you go to the hospitals don't just administer. They run a test first. Let them know where they are starting from. Now, remember, he had a bruised hand, an injured hand. So probably she wanted to quickly help, and they called the medications that were used on him. Is it medication or injection? The tetanus injection, the paracetamol, and one other medication or one other this thing like that. So of course she had a line on him. She was giving him drip, and boom. I think she gave him the tetanus first, then the paracetamol second, then the third one was the one he reacted. So police are saying that when she injected it into him, intravenous, and sorry, I'm not a medical person, but I know intravenous is passing through the vein, and the other one is passing it through, you're giving you injection, at your back, you understand? So now, instead of actually giving him the injection at the back, she passed it through the vein. Remember, it was hyper. Now, the only thing that will make Mohbad react to that drug is because, or this is me, let me just say allegedly, is because he had substance in him. The substance he used from the other day that made him hyper. I don't know if you understand. So that was why immediately the what's it called? The nurse injected him with the antibiotics. He vomited. This is something that has happened to me a lot of times. Maybe they give me antibiotics, I just throw up. So I don't know if it's that same antibiotics or something else. So now his own did not stop with just antibiotics. It went to having goosebumps on his body, on his face, everywhere. And convulsing, so he was not having goosebumps all over his body. So now she has injected him the, what's it called, the antibiotics on his. I was reading comment section, and a lot of people were saying this is the normal thing to do. Like the medications or the injections she was trying to give him, there was nothing wrong with them. It's just that somebody already has substance in his body, so they reacted badly. So this is like an injection interaction, or what you call drug interaction, or whatever thing you want to call it. So where did I stop? Now, goosebumps all over his body. With the goosebumps all over his body, the nurse wanted to quickly get a pharmacy where she could get a drug to like suppress or to. But by the time she came back, it was already. Oh no! Before she came back, she was still out there trying to get a pharmacy, you know, to try to like maybe calm him down, sort of that kind of a thing. And she gets a call that he's convulsing. Just like that. So he's convulsing. Now they get their neighbor. Their neighbor was available with the wife, with the nurse, and some boys that were with them in the house. Now those were the boys we saw that shouted, "Mohbad is there! Ah, Mohbad is there!" Crying, if you could remember. So at the stage of convulsing, of course, convulsing does not mean that you are gone. It just means that maybe you still have some percentage. If you had access to maybe what's it called, a doctor or medical, what's it called, maybe within a time frame, they could still save you. So now they rushed him from the house. Now this is where the thing is, because I remember when watching that video, there were a lot of people who came up. If you could remember watching the video of him in the car. He was lying down with some boys. They carried them on their they carried Mohbad on their legs, and somebody was the one saying he was dead. And it now showed him. When he showed him, there were people that said Mohbad moved his head. Now this is why that was at this point I was not believing the police report or the police press release when they said that convulse. Okay, I said okay, convulse, because and they said something in that police report that what the nurse documented correlates with what expert opinion. So in my head, when you say expert opinion, that to me, I felt like that was autopsy. That was what I felt like, expert opinion. Why not tell us toxicologist or whatever? But when you tell me expert opinion, in my head, I'm like, expert opinion will actually mean that that's autopsy, if you understand what I mean. So they were not literally telling us autopsy is out, autopsy is out. That's to tell you that sometimes there's a level of confidentiality. Sometimes they just want to work with this thing with experts involved. I don't know if you understand. So now back to what I was trying to say. So the story now correlates with that video we saw where Mohbad was lying on the legs of his friends, and people could notice that his head shook at some point because it was just a convulsion at that point. But they felt like, because it was, you know, when you see somebody lifeless in your head, you'll be like, hey, this person is gone. So in their own head, he was gone. But no, he still had maybe some seconds or a minute or whatever chance to live if they had medical attention at that particular point. So continuation with the police report right now. So they took him to the first hospital. They mentioned the name of the hospital, but I can't really, the one I can remember very well is the Perez Hospital. So they took him to the first hospital, and it was already pronounced BID, brought in dead. Yeah. So they were like, no, this is not going to be happening. It's too quick. Everything is too quick. So they took him to Perez Hospital. And in Perez Hospital, they told them the same thing. So between with that period when the friend was shouting, Mohbad is this, Mohbad is gone, you know. And when they got to the hospital, he had few chances at that point. Because remember, go back and watch those videos. These videos are everywhere, you know. You see that his head shook, his head moved. You know, his head moving he still had life in him. Yes, in as much as he reacted to the injection that was given to him, but it was not totally gone. But by the time they will move to the hospital was like, no, it's gone. They went to the second hospital said the same thing. So this was on a Tuesday, 2 days after the event. The event he was invited to, where all of these things happened, remember. So now they called the father. I know everybody has judged. They've judged the dad, they've judged the mom, they've judged the wife. But now police has done their investigation. What the nurse told them correlates with what expert opinions are, being that the drugs they gave him were not correct. He already had some level of substance in him, so he reacted to the drug he was given, which led him to have goosebumps, and he vomited. He had goosebumps. Then in few minutes he was convulsing. So by the time they could take him to the hospital, he was gone. So now I know a lot of people were like, everybody's a suspect, and I agree with that. But sometimes we take things too far, because of course we watched a lot of crime investigation movies, and the thing has told me that everybody's head was spinning. Everybody was expected that the wife was going to be nailed. I was also expecting that, it's Naira Marley. When I was reading comments after police dropped this report, a lot of Nigerians still feel the police is lying. But I could correlate the whole story. Because there were videos there showing, especially that video of them in the car. The wife was there, the nurse was there, the friends were there. Now I've seen these activists come out and say, pick all of them. Of course, now the man who drove the SUV, if the man who drove the SUV is friends spending and all that, their story with the wife's story and the nurse story correlates. That means it's the truth. And the story correlates with what expert opinion. Go and watch what the police say. They say expert opinion. So if the story correlates with the expert opinion thing, then that means it's correct. If you understand what that means. So with that, I would have also doubted. This was not what a lot of Nigerians wanted, honestly. This was not what we wanted at all. Even me, we wanted a situation whereby, probably it was Naira Marley that did this. Now, everything I just explained right now does not rule out Naira Marley's story or Naira Marley's role in his life, because he was bullied. The videos are all out there. That is why he's in custody right now. So 5 persons are in custody, which is still the nurse who injected him. She's still in custody, because now there were witnesses who came, because people are calling her quack. She's a quack nurse. Well, from what I listened to in the police report, it's not like she's a quack. They were calling her auxiliary nurse, but there are evidences to the fact that she's a trained nurse. The hospital where she was trained in Ogun State, they brought representative from the hospital, and they brought them as witnesses, so they could tell that, okay, she is. But of course, the role. It is not the role of a nurse to administer, to prescribe. That's the role of a doctor. And the fact that she didn't even do the test, we just went ahead to. It's not done anywhere whereby you just start giving out medication. And this is to a lot of us who still self-medicate. Please, let's be very, very careful, because you never can tell. Anything can happen. Like, anything can happen. This is a very serious case right now, that a celebrity just like that. And come to think about it, why did he refuse to go to the hospital? Why would you refuse to go to the hospital? You know you're bleeding. Sometimes celebrities have this issue that, I have the money, people will come to the house and do whatever thing for me. Yes, that's the truth. To as little as your hair, your nails, everything, you feel that home service is the best for you. So probably Mohbad is already used to this home service thing. He's used to people coming to the house to do things for him. So the hospital option wasn't really something he wanted to do. That could be one. Another theory that could say, is it because he already had substance in him? He didn't want them to detect it in the hospital. That's why he chose not to go. Do you understand? But I feel like most times a lot of rich people don't like going out. Everything will comes to them. Yes, everything comes to them. They have workers doing everything for them. Everything is just at their beck and call because they feel like they can pay for it. So why do I have to stress myself going? But now, it could have, if we say he would have waited for his own nurse, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, well, because of course the nurse, his personal nurse knows his medical history. This nurse doesn't know anything about him. So she just gave him injection thinking that it's just the normal thing to do. This is what we give to patients in situations like this, not knowing that in this person's case, according to police report, he was hyper, and he was drunk. So probably there's still elements of these things in his system. So the drug she was giving to him are two opposites. So that was what led to him reacting, having goosebumps all of a sudden on his body, and in a few minutes he was convulsing. So what are the lessons we are learning here? Never self-medicate. Drugs, I know there's been a lot of sensitization on drug abuse. I'm not pinning it on drug abuse yet, but from what they are saying from the police report, they of course they are not telling us the exact, is it morphine, is it tramadol, which one was in his system. They've not said, the police hasn't said. But from all indication, for you telling us it was hyperactive. Hyperactive is actually, you understand what that means? That somebody who had a show. So probably took something that made him, now, so that he could perform, so that he could, so there are a lot of things to learn here. I know a lot of Nigerians were quick to nail Naira Marley. Just like I said, he is not totally excluded from the torture, the issues that young man had at the age of 23. He went through a whole lot. He was signed into the record label in 2019. And he left in 2022, and his leaving wasn't a pleasant leaving because they've had issues upon issues upon issues upon issues. But this particular situation right now actually does not have Naira Marley in it. But Naira Marley is going to still be, maybe, what's the word now? It's going to be his accusation now is not directly on this is dead right now, but the bullying situation is not going to be swept under carpet. He has to pay for it. Now, there was a video that was done by I don't know if it's the yes, of the Nigerian police, where he talked about, if you bully somebody even after a year, it's still a criminal offense. You can be punished for that. So a lot of Nigerians are looking at that as an, okay, you bullied, you ordered your boys, you did this. There was a video where it was even shown that in Naira Marley's house, Mohbad was tortured and all that. So all those things now are not going to be swept under carpet. No, it's not. So I think that is why Naira Marley, Sam Larry are still in police custody because of that. So are you saying it now? So if you ask me, I feel like everything police said today, there's a strong correlation. I saw a lot of correlation in it. It's could correlate to, why were you in the car this particular time? Why did you declare him dead? Why was this going on? Why did he refuse to go to the hospital? The nurse, who brought in the nurse? Now we found out that, of course, the nurse wasn't even the first. So there's no foul play at all here, because it was supposed to be his own nurse, but the nurse wasn't available. So his friend called for another nurse, which he knows. So of course this his friend is still in police custody. Let's say probably they will grant them bail. I don't know if maybe they still have court proceedings to all of this. So this is what the story is like right now. So what have you learned from this? I was expecting to see a lot of comments. I was expecting to see people dropping comments to talk about this whole thing. But for the police press release, or the press conference, or the press briefing they had today, it's all over. So this is just like a summary of what the whole police, what's it called, is the whole police press briefing. Yes, this is a summary of everything they said in this thing. So to those kneeling the wife, unfortunately she is not in it. So can people just take a chill pill I linked the young lady alone. I didn't want to be sentimental, and at the same time, I was still feeling for her because in my head I was like, which is something that I kept saying on Facebook, like I can't believe that in 21st century, a lot of people still actually think like how things were in those days, where something happens to a man and the first thing they do is they push it on the wife. They make her nobody cares if she's a widow, she has kids, people drag property with her and all that and all that. So seeing this happen in 21st century like this, I felt like, wow, I can't believe that the younger generation is actually making the same mistakes the older generation made. So of course you don't actually come online and bully someone. Like Mohbad went through a lot of bullying, and a lot of people are now bullying the child, bullying the wife, saying she killed him, she did that. Why is she not talking to us? Why is she not? It's not who she's going to talk to. She's going to talk to the police. And of course, I'm sure she has a lawyer who is telling her what to do. So it's not you she's going to talk to. It's the police she's going to talk to, because they are the ones doing the investigation. And I heard that she was interrogated a lot of times. So, and she's just 24. Sometimes I feel like people expect too much from people at 24. What does she even know? She's a mother, she's a wife, or she's a wife and a widow at the same time, and she has to now manage social media pressure. She has to manage the thought of people saying she needs to do DNA. She has to manage the thought of people screaming, you must do DNA, you must do DNA. And I'm like, guys, you people shouting DNA, you're crossing boundaries there. Allow the our father-in-law, to be the one to decide that. That is not what media or social media people will come and decide. No, it's not in your hand to do at all. So now people that were like, oh, we need the DNA because of the investigation. What you people were expecting is not what it is, because a lot of people actually asking for DNA were believing or thinking that maybe she's the one that did it. But right now, with the story that is out there right now, she's not even the one. So it's a thing of Mohbad getting intoxicated and probably having substance in him. So plus the injury he had out of anger, he fought, and he had injury on his hand. For them to treat the injury, the nurse gave him the normal, medication or injection they give to people, but his own reacted because he already had substance in him. So the woman is totally clear of this. Naira Marley is not totally clear because of the videos of bullying and all that we see. So the nurse is still in custody. The childhood friend, the prime boy, the childhood friend is still in custody. But the story is very, very clear right now. But I don't know, probably there's still some processes they need to do. Then the spending, because if there was no fight with prime boy, Mohbad is going to still be alive. Of course, control your temper, anger management. There's a lesson of anger management here too. That's another lesson for us to learn, Then Spending, that's not his real name, but I'm just giving you his stage name. Spending was the one who brought the nurse. So Spending is still in police custody. Then Naira Marley and Sam Larry, these are the people still in custody. Remember, like I said, what the nurse told the police is the same as what most of the the people that were interrogated all said. And our story is also the same with what the opinion of experts, and I want to believe it's the toxicology, all the people that did the autopsy thing, I want to believe they are the ones. The story is the same. So at this point now, I don't think we can fault Nigerian police. But a lot of people want it to. They feel like, no, this is not, because it is not going your way, you feel like police is lying to you. I don't really think so. I was actually shocked too when I heard it, because that was not what I was expecting. But reading it, listening to everything, and putting my 1 and 2 together, I don't have any way to fault them. I'm sorry. So to Mohbad's wife, if I were you, I'll sue all the people who came online to defame you, telling you your child doesn't look like your father, all those things, all those plenty things, people interfering in things that were beyond them. If I were you, I'll make a lot of money. All the blogs, all the activists and all that will constantly came for you, because the fact that you are going through a situation and people kept on dragging you, coming online. I heard she deactivated her Instagram account twice. You know what it feels like sometimes when people have not passed through certain things. It's always easy for them to just run their mouth and say things they know absolutely nothing about. Now, with police investigation, now the girl is kind of vindicated, except there's anything that will come up. But this is 3 weeks. This is 3 weeks, right? For police to come up with all of this, and she's totally out. Like, you see why it's not too good to just quickly judge people. You just, bah, 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 bah. She's the one. She has a hand. This child is not the child. It's because of property. It's because of this. It's because of that. Yes, I agree that there was voice notes where two of them were quarreling. And truth be said, husband and wife quarrel, just like a lot of people have that opinion. Husband and wife quarrel. But unfortunately, her name is not even in the whole story at all. So let's be careful how we are quick to judge people. In fact, there's actually a lot to learn here. Substance abuse, the kind of things we take. Will I say not being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Self-medication, all these things. These are things we need to learn from. Don't just believe that, oh, because this is the thing, therefore, oh, I've handled this situation before. Because I was having headache before, then it's paracetamol. So because it's something in this part of my body, then that means that's what I'm supposed to take. It might not totally be. That is why when you go to the hospital, they must run tests first. I know in Africa, everything seems like, or that they just want to eat your money. That's not the situation, because look at what it has led to here. So a young 27-year-old promising star just goes like that, just like that. And look at what happened. The father too brought trouble upon himself, because people now started suspecting the dad too, because of how they just rushed and did the burial and bent his neck to one side. But the father too doesn't have hand, because it was after he passed they called the man. And yes, the culture is a culture that young children, you don't keep young ones for that long and all that, but that's not an excuse for you to just do it anyhow. In fact, there's also the rule of poverty in all of this, because sometimes when you don't have money, anything anybody talks is what you do, because the rich actually control the poor. That's the truth. Yeah, the rich control the poor. Well, let's just pray that such thing doesn't happen to anybody, loved one, or anyone around us. But as it is right now, it's shocking that what a lot of us expected is not what it is. And for a fact, listening to it, looking at all the, what's it called, except something else comes out tomorrow, but as it is right now, the police seems to have done a very good job in narrowing this thing down to what it is. Yeah, I feel they have. So thank you so much for watching. Yeah, it's been a long time I came on YouTube live, and I decided to just come and talk about this thing. Since the whole story on YouTube, I've not really talked about it, but this is what is happening right now. If anything comes up anytime soon, good. But for now, this is what it is. The people we really wanted to nail them for both bullying, everything, and even the mother. But unfortunately for the mother, they are totally out. Where you can pin Naira Marley and Sam Larry is in the area of bullying, assault, oppression, all those ones. But that is it, guys. So thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. There's somebody still live here with me, but I really do not know, because you're not dropping comments. Well, thank you. Bye. Bye.